take a good look at Alcatraz, my 240-gallon African cichlid tank, because it's the last time you're gonna see it. With hardly any fish in it. That's right, this morning I got up at 4 o'clock just to drive down to Southwest Cargo down by the airport to pick up my shipment from Ron's Cichlids. But I'm breaking at least 2 rules, and you might know of more rules that I'm breaking to get this many fish in this tank. Let's get these guys unboxed. This is really heavy duty. No one's accidentally opening this thing.
Subscribe or someone dies. Ding ding.
A couple of heat packs on the lid. These are really nice and warm, and they are still warm. Since I picked these up at the Southwest Cargo, they were shipped out yesterday morning or just about noon, and they arrived last night at 11 something. Nice insulation packs. And they were able to be picked up this morning at 5, and I could have gotten there a little bit before 5, it looks like. Another layer of insulation with another heat pack. These guys are staying nice and warm. All right, now for the good stuff. Man, these are huge bags. I usually get smaller fish, about the 3-inch range, but there weren't very many options for that size of fish. So I ended up getting some larger ones, which is actually kind of cool because they'll color up a lot faster that way, and Alcatraz will start looking like its old self a little bit more quickly. Starting off with our Maramala. Looks like he's doing great too. I don't know if you can see him too well in there, but he looks good. There's a little bit of poop floating around. And if these guys look like they're having any stress at all, then I'm going to go ahead and get them in the tank immediately without acclimating them. But for right now, I'm just gonna put each bag in the tank for 15-20 minutes or so. This is my Nucci. He's looking good. I don't know the full name on this one. It's hard for me to pronounce, but I'll get to that later. But he is a Victorian. Next on the list, my Insignis Hap. He's a smaller one. He is about probably maybe 3.5 or 4 inches, it looks like. He looks like he's doing great. And this is replacing Steve Holt, who passed away recently because of my mishap that took away 2/3 of my fish. If you are interested in that, the link is in the upper right corner. Autopharynx tetrastigma. And I've wanted one of these for a long time, but it just hasn't worked out. They're either not available or I don't need more fish with them at the time. He looks beautiful. This is gonna be one of the most beautiful fish I have. This is my Mdoka white lips. Yeah, I can actually see white lips on him now. I don't know if that's a juvie thing, that they maybe don't have white lips until they start getting a little bigger, but he already has them. He's looking good. So you might think I'm crazy for adding this many fish at once.
Yep.
And I did have my reasons. I wanted to get my tank back up to its prior stocking level as quickly as I could, or at least pretty close. I also wanted to get these fish while they were available because like some of the ones that I ordered, they're already out of stock. And on top of that, I didn't want to pay shipping again. Shipping isn't cheap. So have you guys ever broken the rules in your aquariums? Let me know what rule you broke and what you did to make sure it was gonna be okay. Ooh, my Fusco. Oh yes. Looking good. Love that. This is my Hippo Point Salmon Victorian. I do like those Victorians. They are beautiful fish and they have a very distinct shape to them. I'm gonna save this one. Ooh, look at this. This is a Hawkloceps. He's actually a hybrid that Ron's makes, that they breed. And he is going to look like a hawk, but I think he's gonna have more stunning colors than the hawk has, the Malawi hawk. And that's what I used to have. I used to have a Malawi hawk named Hawk, and he's one of the ones that passed away, unfortunately. It's a Nova Blue Longnose. He was a last minute addition. I almost didn't get this guy. He was pretty pricey. The last moment decided that he would be a good addition. And I'll go a little bit more into how I chose my fish in just a little bit. So I'm gonna save this guy for one of the last ones that I'm gonna show you and get the other box. That's right, 2 boxes. This is another last minute addition that I wasn't sure I wanted because he's so beautiful. I was thinking that he's gonna have a serious attitude, even though it says he's mildly aggressive on the site. but it's a fire hap. This is a super red empress, in other words. And he's a big boy, so I have this huge bag. And I wasn't sure how many were in this box, but I'm gonna go get that other one real quick. So I don't know if you guys remember Ray, but he was the only Mbuna I had in the tank. But he turned out to be an awesome fish, and I think you guys liked him as well, but I don't have one now. But this guy's gonna take up the slack. And I think I've already named him, but I want you guys to vote on the name that I've chosen. I'm gonna give you 2 options. And finally, I was most saddened by the loss of one of my fish. Out of everybody that I lost, he made me cry the most. And I loved his goofy personality and how dumb he was. I don't know if this guy will be the same, but here he is. My first cicada. This is what FERC 2 was. And this is a pretty big boy, and he was not cheap because he is so big. I usually don't get fish this big at all, but it's kind of a good thing because he is a very passive fish. And to get along with the guys in the tank, he might need a little extra size. Let me interrupt for just a moment and let's talk about why the heck I'm putting all these fish in the 240 directly without quarantining them first. There are a couple of reasons. First of all, I don't have a tank big enough to put all these guys in. And my 75 would be overcrowded, but I also have fish in there already, so it's not really a quarantine tank. Next, I talked to Hunter at Ron Cichlids, and he confirmed that most of these fish have been born in captivity with no new additions after they were born, so it's like the ultimate quarantine. I don't have to worry about spreading disease to my fish. The other thing that I was worried about putting this many fish into Alcatraz was that it might crash my cycle. I might not have enough beneficial bacteria in my tank and filters to take care of the bioload, and I wouldn't be able to convert that ammonia into nitrite and nitrite into nitrate, and then I would end up with an ammonia spike. I know how to handle that, but at the same time, I don't want to have to handle it. I did speak to Ryan from Squatch's Cichlids earlier, who has been through this situation, and he confirmed that everything should be okay. I should have enough beneficial bacteria in the tank and filters, but I got him on the line. Let's just ask the Squatch one more time to confirm that everything will be okay when I add these fish to Alcatraz. Hey Squatch, thanks for being here. Let me just ask you one more time. Is it gonna be okay when I add all these fish back into Alcatraz?
Well, there's multiple factors here. The first one is that you treated your tank rather quickly. That means your bioload's most likely majority intact. Number 2, you lost a good amount of bioload in the fish that you lost, which means that the bioload that's still in the filter is probably more than enough than what you need. And number 3, your fish and your tank were overall healthy before the disaster occurred, which means they're still healthy now and the tank is still healthy. Just be a man and put them back, David. Alcatraz is ready.
All right, well there you have it, straight from the horse's mouth or the Squatch's mouth. I should be okay just adding these guys back in. That's what I'm gonna do. Let's get back to the unboxing. Whenever I get a new shipment of fish, I always add some Seachem Stress Guard. It can be used to help promote healing in your fish, but I'm using it here to take the edge off, reduce the stress in the new guys. Stress Guard is like a nice glass of wine at dinner. When I get fish delivered, I use the plop and drop method to get them into the tank. Some people like to drip acclimate their fish, slowly adding little amounts of water from your tank to their bag until they're supposedly adjusted to the new pH of your tank. I don't do this because once you open the bag and the contents are introduced to new air, the water in the bag that the fish have been pooping in becomes toxic to your fish immediately. You can add prime and still drip acclimate, but I just plop them in the net and then drop them into the tank. Hence the name Plop and Drop. It's been working for me for years and I never add any water from the bag to the tank. There's nothing good in that water. How do you add your fish to your tanks? Let us all know in the comments. Some of you might like to know how I chose my fish. Well, here's how. I was on Ron Cichlids' website looking through their selection, first of all to see what was available. If there are any that stood out as known offenders, guys that have a bad reputation for being buttheads, I just steer clear of them. The eye biter, for example, has a bad rap and I really don't want to risk it. In some of my prior videos, I mentioned that most of my bad attitude inmates were peacocks, not haps. And for this reason, I only selected, and you may have noticed, haps. But not only for that reason, but I also like the different shapes you get with haps. Peacocks overall are more colorful with a wider variety of colors and patterns, but they typically have the same body shape. Now I just prefer haps over peacocks, even though I used to be the other way around. So as I was looking through the haps, any that stood out for their body shapes or patterns would get a deep dive look, and I'd read up on their stats. Size was playing a large part in my selection process. I don't want a ton of really big guys, a foot or larger, that will make my tank look cramped to me, and worse, feel cramped for them. So only a few that make it 12 inches or more. After I made it this far, I double-checked the aggression rating you find on Ron's website, and anything that indicated it was highly aggressive would at least get more investigation on my part, but in general, I just move on. Then I went through my cart to see how they all look together. Do I have a good variety, both in shapes and colors? I think I do. So that's how I selected these 12, and I think I did a pretty darn good job. I'd love it if you'd let me know how you select your African or American cichlids. I won't be doing anything special to build up my beneficial bacteria in this tank either. I won't be adding any seeded filter media or putting stability in the tank to help build up the beneficial bacteria, because I want to know if that bacteria in my filters is still alive after dosing with chlorine, which should have killed it, I thought, and then also without having the sufficient stock level to keep it fed for a week and a day, because that's how long it's been. Is it still sufficient to house an additional 12 fish in this tank? We'll find out. And I wouldn't be doing this if I wasn't around for the next couple days to test and make sure that first of all, my ammonia doesn't start spiking, or that my fish aren't going to be okay. I want to make sure that they're not going to be stressed out or picked on. I'll be watching them consistently to make sure everything's fine. I'm ready to take action if it isn't. When adding new fish, I always give them some food to make sure the current inmates aren't hangry. Plus, it creates a distraction. I'll make sure to turn off the lights for several hours to keep the stress level down too. Plus, when the lights are on, the new kids can be seen more easily. And I can promise you, they don't want to be seen more easily. I'm going to wait a few more hours and I'm going to get some clips of the fish after they've had a chance to settle in and color up a little bit. Here we are later on in the day. They've had several hours to get used to the environment and the psychopaths that are now part of the family, but I haven't seen any aggression that requires me to take action, and I also haven't seen anyone looking super stressed. Oh, if you add new fish and you see any that are breathing really heavily or just sitting on the substrate, or maybe spending all their time in the corner or up at the top, any signs that that particular fish is under some kind of heavy-duty stress, you might consider getting him out of there and just giving him some time alone in a separate quarantine tank all by himself, and increase the amount of stress guard you've added. The instructions tell you what the max dose is without harming your fish. Keep the light off and make sure that he has a place to hide. These new guys aren't super colored up yet, and I wouldn't expect them to be so soon after their trip, but I'm confident they will be. And it's funny how the current inmates do color up when you add the new guys though. This Whoops baby, he was an unplanned baby from a grow out tank, is usually all silver, but look at him now. Is that purple? I almost don't recognize him. Oh, but back to the new guys. As the Squatch and Steve from Park Bench Aquatics can attest, Ron Cichlids has a very high quality standard for African cichlids. And they're all bred in the US, which is cool, and most of them right there at Ron's facility, which you can actually tour on Ron's YouTube channel. What I've seen has just blown me away, and I'm really looking forward to seeing these 12 as they mature. Oh, and since Ron's is a sponsor of the channel, if you'd like to get some of his fish, make sure you use the code Cichlid Charmer 10 and you'll get 10% off your order. Pretty nice. The yellow lab I'm thinking of calling either Icarus, after the guy who flew too close to the sun, still has the sun reference you see like Ray did, or King Jaune. Jaune is the French word for yellow. I was thinking of calling my first cicada Ferk III, but in honor of Ferk II, I think I might call him Ferk II, and sometimes just Ferk for short. Let me know what you think of the new inmates in Alcatraz. Do you have any favorites? Let me know in the comments. Also, they're going to be needing some names, and I know you guys are pretty creative with the names, so let me know if you can think of any for the new guys. I'll be putting out a new video this Tuesday with an update on how everybody's doing, and also, did I ever see an ammonia spike? When it's ready, I'll put a link up here in the upper right corner. You've been watching the Cichlid Charmer, and as always, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.